Hello, it is I, Gibson Shamar from Hikati Media, with yet another installment of How I Would Have Done It. This time, we're looking at a huge missed opportunity. Well, for Disney at least. We didn't really care much about it. To make use of one of its most valuable characters in the Star Wars IP and expand on his story. That's right. We're going to talk about how Solo 2 could have been done had it been under Hikati Media under the circumstances that we are currently in terms of Star Wars. Not we, as in Hikati Media. We're still far from being able to even think about a concept for the amount of money it would take just to get the proper wardrobe to call ourselves people who are thinking of making movies. Yeah, we're still far. Remember, if you're in Mozambique and you want pictures taken or videos filmed at any event, make sure to call us. We're available. Anyway, how we would have done Solo 2. More than obviously, the first movie was not a hit at the box office. In fact, it became the first Star Wars movie to ever bomb at the box office. There are a lot of reasons given for this failure. The first is given by the fans. They were upset about The Last Jedi, so they wanted to send a message to Disney and Kathleen Kennedy about their highly esteemed IP. That's weird. How did The Rise of Skywalker make $1 billion then? The second reason is that it was released too soon after The Last Jedi. Fair enough. Star Wars content was filling our screens. We had just had The Last Jedi in theaters. Star Wars Rebels was still a thing. Star Wars Resistance was still a thing. We were drowning in Star Wars content. There was a lot going on, and from all these different points in Star Wars history. And then we get this one that's kind of in between everything. It's before Rogue One, but after Revenge of the Sith, and it's also before Star Wars Rebels, so chronologically, this comes after Revenge of the Sith. It's a lot to digest. That could be a reason. The other reason is that the marketing wasn't good and didn't sell the movie as a necessary thing to watch. Yeah, this one was the one that affected me. I didn't want to watch it because it was pointless. X-Men movies made me hate prequels. But then one day I was stuck in the mall with my then girlfriend and we had nothing to do and our ride wasn't due for another 3 hours. So we went to watch Solo. It was nice. Aside from some very weird creative decisions like making Han have a heart of gold right off the bat, making Lando more street smart than Han is, and making Lando look down on Han like he knows absolutely nothing about how the underworld works, or explaining how he got his surname. That was the most baffling one. By the way, they retconned that and said that Solo is his real surname in a canonical book. Apparently, he's a descendant of Corellian royalty.
Well. What do we have here?
I guess we learned our lesson there, huh? Anyway, my then girlfriend and I actually had a blast with the movie. When I heard that it bombed, I was surprised because I never imagined a Star Wars movie bombing, and because it was actually a nice movie. Alden Heinrich, or whatever his surname is, didn't capture young Harrison Ford as Han. Donald Glover tried to capture young Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian, but something just felt off about it. They worked with what they could in the script that they were given. At least we got the thing about Lando flirting with Han's girl again. So, all these years later, I thought about it. Why can't we just have a Solo 2? The studio is scared now, especially at the notion of recasting the classic characters. That's why Leia never did anything in Star Wars 9. I still want my refund for that movie. J.J. Abrams. That's also why Leia doesn't appear in The Mandalorian or any of the shows set in that period. The studio is scared of recasting, and the last time they tried, the movie bombed. We can theorize about why the movie failed all we want, but one thing is for sure, Han can get his own trilogy, and it can work. And that is the challenge we at Hikati Media have decided to take on. So, here goes. The movie takes place 5 years after the first one. This is around 3 BBY. Open the movie on the planet Hippori. There is a large factory that has clearly been shut down for a long time but has an imperial presence. Stormtroopers are guarding the place, and there are many ships coming to and leaving the docking area. We see the stormtroopers guiding people who have crates full of weapons. We see some familiar weapons and guns from the Clone Wars, and others that Star Wars fans would recognize from other pieces of media. The weapons are loaded into a ship which is under guard by a stormtrooper. He guides the crate back into the factory without saying a word. He meets two other stormtroopers and they are talking. One mentions how there was a huge battle between the Republic and the Separatists had won. Hippori was on the Separatist side, and this was a droid factory but is now being decommissioned so that they can repurpose it into a TIE fighter factory. The stormtrooper listens in on all of this as he follows the person with the crate back to the weapons storage unit. An inspector comes and asks the two chatting stormtroopers how many crates have been loaded, and they say that the lone stormtrooper is handling it. The inspector asks how one stormtrooper is handling that if they are supposed to be operating as pairs. The stormtroopers say that the lone one told him that his colleague was called by the inspector for something and that he would be back. The inspector gets angry and tells the stormtroopers to find him. They go looking around for him, and he is seen leaving the storage unit with a crate full of weapons. He manages to sneak past everyone, but just before he manages to get to the main door leading to the dock area, a couple of troopers stop him and ask him what his identification number is. He says it, and they check for it. They say that the number has been inactive since the campaign on Mimban 5 years prior. One of them looks at the armor and says a different identification number. The trooper then says that he forgot the new one. It was newly assigned. He is nervous. The pair aim their guns at him and he laughs nervously. He then pulls the "what's that behind you" trick, and they both look back. He shoots one of them in the back and the other starts shooting at him. He uses the crate to knock him down and runs outside and quickly takes the load into the ship. The alarm starts blaring and the stormtroopers all get mobilized and run outside to try and shoot down the ship he is piloting. He has trouble getting it to take off because he forgot to calibrate for the extra weight. He remarks that he may have taken too much. The stormtrooper starts shooting the ship and he manages to get it to take off after calibrating it for the extra weight. The inspector tells the stormtroopers not to let him escape and wonders where there are any TIE interceptors. It turns out that Han is the one who's doing all of this. He removes his helmet and laughs as he makes his getaway. The Imperials send a squad of TIE fighters after him, and we have a pursuit scene. Han shows off his piloting skills, but then the last crate moves around and hits the controls, causing some mishaps for him, which he constantly has to navigate. The ship has no weapons. He leads the TIE fighters to a spot very far from the factory and then talks through his communicator and tells his buddy to come out of the shadows. Two of the TIE fighters are shot down and we see the Millennium Falcon fly past Han's ship. Chewbacca is piloting the Falcon. He shows off his skills and takes down the other TIE fighters before they get a spot where it's clear they had been to before and had camped in. Han gets out of the stormtrooper armor and gets the crates into the Falcon. He tells Chewie that they're gonna make a lot of money with this one, and Chewie growls. Han says that there's always a price to pay for happiness. Sometimes it costs 50 grand. They hide the weapons in different compartments in the Falcon, and Han sits in the pilot's seat. Chewie sits in the co-pilot seat, and they take off just before the new TIE fighters arrive. Han makes a hasty flight to the atmosphere with the TIE fighters closing in, and when he gets to outer space, he tells Chewie to punch it, and they disappear into hyperspace. The inspector is left in the factory to ponder his failure. He asks a clerk how much is missing, and the clerk says that it's 24 crates. The inspector yells at all of the stormtroopers for being incompetent and failing to capture just one person. Han and Chewie make their way to Ryloth. Han lands the ship in a hangar in the shady area of a city that looks like it's drenched in crime. He assures Chewie that it will be fine. He then asks Chewie when he has ever steered him wrong. Chewie rolls his eyes. They get out and meet a Twi'lek man who welcomes them back. He says that the bosses are waiting for them. They make their way to a club where we see many alien species from the galaxy doing club things like drinking and dancing. Han and Chewie are taken to a table where John and Wigwer Alais are seated. They are surrounded by what should be assumed to be their security. Han and Chewie are searched and then allowed to sit. John welcomes Han and Chewie back from Hippori and asks how the task went. Han says that it was a success and that he brought back the weapons just like they asked. John asks if Han was followed or if there were any problems. Han says that it was nothing he couldn't handle. John and Wigwer laugh together. Wigwer says that is why he always calls Han back for these things. He says that Han plays very loose with his life, almost as if he doesn't care about whether he lives or dies. Han says that as long as the money keeps coming in, they don't have to worry about a thing, and makes it a point that he doesn't steal and that they shouldn't expect him to keep doing that. Chewie rolls his eyes. John asks how many crates he brought. Han says that they're 24. John congratulates him for the job and says that he will pay Han the money after he gets his weapons. He signals his men and they speak into the communicator. He then tells Han that the crates will be removed from his ship from the usual compartments. Han minds that, but doesn't say a word. Wigwer mentions how the Empire is tightening its grip on the galaxy and that they're making it business a little harder to manage than usual. He says that Chom Syndulla looks like he's going to be causing problems for the people of Ryloth, and they need to still expand their enterprise and keep things working. Han says that that's not his problem, that he just delivers the goods they need. Wigwer then asks if Han supports the Empire. Han says that he's not interested in politics. The Twi'lek brothers laugh together, and Han fake laughs with them as Chewie stands up to leave in the background. Wigwer says that is why Han will live a long life. He then says that they will transfer the credit soon and offers Han some entertainment. He then calls a Twi'lek lady and she goes to them. She already knows who Han is and Han knows her. She compliments Han. Han says that he's not really up for anything. John tells Han that Chewbacca is already in on the game. Han then notices that Chewie left the table and is talking to what seems to be a female Wookiee bounty hunter. Han smiles, then takes a sip of his drink and accepts the offer. The next day, Han and Chewie are walking together, heading to the Falcon. They are in the club and are leaving. John calls them and they go to him. John tells Han that there's something new he would like Han to do for him. Han says that he doesn't have the time, that he needs to get to Tatooine. John asks what is going on there, and Han says that he's going to find out. John knows that Han is lying. He says that the opening the Hutt cartel announced is dangerous work. Han says that he lives with danger. John says that the jobs Han took with the Brotherhood of Ryloth are nothing compared to the danger that cartel jobs bring. Chewie groans. Han agrees with him. He tells John that they've seen their fair share. John says that the cartels are fighting for power and aren't above direct attacks on each other, and that belonging to one could be a huge danger. Han says that it's fine. He says that he's not interested in working full-time for anyone because he doesn't like to be tied down. John wishes a safe trip, then says that he hopes to see him again and goes away while Han goes into the Falcon with Chewie. They get to the pilot and co-pilot seat. They take off from the planet. Cut to the border between Hutt space and the Outer Rim. There is an Imperial Star Destroyer there with a small armada. The Moff who is in charge of the Star Destroyer is looking out the window and is called by one of the clerks who operate the ship. The clerk says that they have just captured another cargo ship that was taking unregistered supplies. This is Moff Bonteri. He tells the clerk to destroy the cargo ship and kill all the passengers except for the captain of the ship, who should be taken to the desert moon of Jeddah. The clerk delivers the orders of the Moff after walking away. There is beeping on his comlink, and then he goes to an isolated room and turns on the hologram. The hologram shows other Moffs, and they are all seated around a table. It is a meeting. Tarkin welcomes Bonteri. Bonteri thanks Tarkin for welcoming him there and says that he hopes he didn't keep everyone waiting. Tarkin says that he did, so it should come with good news. Bonteri explains that keeping watch over Hutt space is not a task for one Moff, but an entire legion of Moffs and their forces. Although it's proving difficult, Bonteri has found the ship tracker program to be very valuable and has been able to track down ships using illegal hyperspace routes effectively. Tarkin says that despite Bonteri's best efforts, there is still a lot of crime and trafficking going on in his sector. Bonteri tells Tarkin that it is impossible to keep all the cartels in check, that he is in the most crime infested sector of the Empire. Tarkin tells Bonteri to get it all under control before the Emperor starts to contact him personally. Bonteri asks Tarkin to keep the Emperor at bay, and Tarkin agrees to it on the condition that Bonteri manages to rein in the criminals and scum. Bonteri agrees, and the meeting is adjourned. Cut to Tatooine and show Han landing in Mos Eisley. He lands in a very familiar hangar. He gets out with Chewie. He tells Chewie to watch out because there could be some serious opportunists lurking around. Chewie growls. Han speaks to one of the folks there and asks about a good job for someone who likes to take things from one place to another. The person tells him that if he wants to find such work, all he has to do is head to the cantina. Chewie then growls, and the person says that he didn't know that they wanted to work for Jabba. He says that slots are filling up and that if they want to get into contact with someone from the Hutt cartel, they should have said so. He tells them that they'll have to go sit on a certain table that's always empty in the cantina. Everyone knows that that table is only for those who want to get involved with the Hutt cartel or are already involved with them and want to cut a deal with them. Han asks why it's so simple. Person says that it's been like that for the past couple of years. He says that there isn't a point in really hiding these things unless you're aware of the Empire being around, and that even the Empire doesn't take the Hutt cartel lightly. Han smiles and looks at Chewie, then mocks John Wigwer for telling them that working for the Hutts is dangerous. Chewie growls. They then go away. Have the camera show what Mos Eisley is like and showcase the familiar faces from previous Star Wars movies like Ben Quadraneros and Sebulba. Han and Chewie make their way to the Mos Eisley cantina and Han speaks to the bartender. He points out a table and Han and Chewie go to sit. It doesn't take long until a Thalothian comes to them and nods at them. Han and Chewie stand up and follow him. They get to the spot in the shady alley and the Thalothian aims his gun at the duo. Han and Chewie aim their guns at him too. Others pop out of the shadows and aim their guns at the duo. Han says that they have other friends who are also aiming their guns at them. The Thalothian says that Han is bluffing. Han asks what they want. The Thalothian asks Han if he's with the Empire. Han says that it shouldn't matter to him and that he asked the first question. The Thalothian says that he doesn't care. Han says that they're not with the Empire and that he is there for a job. The Thalothian asks what kind of job. Han says that it's the kind of job that you would get in trouble with the Empire for. The Thalothian signals everyone to lower their weapons and guides Han and Chewie to Jabba's palace. They are taken to Bib Fortuna and he speaks Huttese with them. Bib brings them to Jabba. Bib tells Jabba about Han and Chewie and Jabba speaks to them. There are many assassins and bounty hunters there. There's a droid interpret there and he translates everything Jabba says. Jabba calls out the other candidates and they come from all corners of the place. One of them is Greedo. Jabba says that he has a grand job, but first he needs to test out the candidates with a small, insignificant amount of spice that's somewhere in the June Sea. The candidates will have to go out there and bring the spice back to him. The first 5 to make it back will get the job. One of the smugglers, Sal Milkos, says that the test sounds easy enough and that he should just give him the title because no one there seems like they're a good enough pilot. Kyrish Surogan, a Bothan, looks at Sal and grunts. He says that Sal should learn to keep his mouth shut and let his work speak for him. Sal looks at Han and scoffs at him. Han scoffs even louder at him. Chewie rolls his eyes. Jabba says that they have until sundown to bring back the goods if they want to get the job, and that they should start off immediately. Jabba tells them that they have speeders ready to take the goods on standby. There are 8 candidates, excluding Chewie. They all race toward their speeders. The competitors are Sal Milkos, a human, Kyrus Suragan, a Bothan, Greedo, a Rhodian, Hask, a Niktochi, Seem, a Duros, Antari, a Weequay, Dandan, a Devanorian, Moore, a Falleen, and Han. Han and Chewie get to a speeder, and Han tells Chewie to get to the Falcon. Chewie growls. Han says that he doesn't know and that Chewie should figure it out. The other smugglers all drive off. Han goes off too. During the race there, Hal and Sal go head to head, and it is clear that they're to become rivals. Greedo gets ahead of them all. It seems that he knows the terrain better than all of them. They arrive at the destination, which is a cave, and all rush to get all the spice that they can. They load it onto their respective rides, with Han being the main focus of the shot. He struggles quite a bit but manages to do it and is the sixth one to leave the cave. They all ride out, with Greedo being the last to leave. He starts firing at them with his blaster. He hits Seam's speeder and it falls apart, then crashes into the sand. The others look back and see Greedo with his gun. They all start playing dirty themselves. Han is targeted by Sal, who says that it's not personal, that it's just business. Han's speeder gets shot a few times and he manages to shoot Antari's speeder. Antari swerves and hits Murs. Murs' speeder explodes. The sequence is quick and intense and they all try to defeat each other. Greedo is about to shoot Han, but then the Falcon shows up and Chewie maneuvers it so that Han can get under it and its engines blow the other smugglers away. Han cheers for Chewie and tells him to continue on their way. Sal keeps up with them and so does Karish. They get to Jabba's palace and dismount from their speeders. Bib congratulates them on their task. Han is proud of himself. Sal and Kyrus are stoic and follow Bib to Jabba. Jabba congratulates them as well and tells them to rest up for the next day so that they can start off on their mission. He says that the others will show up soon and that they will go together. Kyrus walks up to Han with an angry face and says that Han cheated. Chewie steps in and growls. Han says that there were never any rules. Kyrus walks away from them. Han and Chewie go back to Mos Eisley and sleep in the Falcon. Han takes some time to look at the dice from the previous movie. The next day, the smugglers are all assembled at Jabba's palace. Bib is the one who brought them together and is explaining to them what the job actually is through the translator droid. Han, Chewie, Sal, Kyrus, and Dandan are present. Bib has a map of the galaxy and shows them the trade routes that exist. He then tells them that they have to get spice from the planet Obadiah and deliver it to Nal Hutta. Sal says that it sounds simple enough and wonders why they have to have a whole team assembled for such an easy task. Bib explains that this spice was apprehended by the Empire and the Pikes took it. The Hutts simply want their spice back, so it has to be taken back. Kyrus asks how the Pikes could take something like spice from the Empire. Bib says that those aren't questions that they should be asking. What they should be asking is when they get started. Han says to Chewie that he has been brushing up on his Huttese and tells him to check this out. He speaks to Bib in Huttese and Bib looks at him with an estranged face. He then speaks to the droid. The droid tells Han that if he says that again, he'll be thrown into the Sarlacc pit. Chewie laughs at Han. Bib tells them that they have a short window of opportunity because the spice market is very fierce when it comes to competition, and the only way they can stay ahead of the curve is through that merchandise. Han asks for an image of the place they're supposed to rob. A hologram comes up with the Pike Fortress, and Bib explains where the Pikes usually keep their spice, and that it would be their job to get the spice from there to Obadiah docks, then carry it off to Nal Hutta. Sal says that should settle it, and they should get going in his ship, the Minot Claw. Han scoffs. He says that the Falcon should be the ship with the lead, as it is the fastest ship around. He then says that it did the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Dandan laughs. Karish says that it's impossible to do, and Han says that nobody told him that. Sal says that there's no chance against the Minoc Claw. Han says that the Falcon is the best option. Bib tells them that they should take the Kessel Run ship and it will not be anyone's responsibility if it is destroyed. The others agree. Bib tells them that they are to bring 15 crates and that the reward money will be 20,000 apiece. They get to the Falcon and Sal laughs at it. He says that it is a piece of junk and that it is barely held together. He says that if they put just one crate of spice in it, the engine will explode. He continues to mock it, and Han simply says that it is still better than the Minoc Claw. They all get into the Falcon and it takes off. On the border of Hutt space, Moff Bonteri is speaking to the Council of Moffs. Moff Gideon explains that the Empire should consider invading Hutt space and extinguishing the Hutts once and for all. He calls them a cancer to the Empire. Moff Tanhubi talks about the Mon Calamari resistance and how he constantly has to deal with them, but they are under control. Bonteri says that Hutt space is tricky because if there is nothing being detected, it means that they are getting better at their jobs. He says that he has to conspire with people among their ranks to get the job done a lot of the time. He says that he agrees with Gideon's approach that they should exterminate everyone. Tarkin intervenes, saying that they are not going to start a war with the Hutts because they are too insignificant to matter to the grand scheme of things. He says that they have to focus on building the Empire. Bonteri asks whether Tarkin has ever been to Hutt space before, and Tarkin replies by saying that he is a war veteran and has actually been in the front lines with the Jedi, unlike Bonteri, who simply threw money around. Bonteri stayed quiet. Tarkin says that they need to meet in order to discuss Project Stardust and its applications. He says that he will discuss with the Emperor about when the meeting should take place. The others agree and the hologram goes off. Bonteri stands up and is visibly upset with what has just been said. Han and the other smugglers are in hyperspace on the way to the Pike homeworld. They are getting to know each other. Han says that he is from the Corps and his first mate is Chewbacca. Sal introduces himself as captain of the Minoc Claw and says that he is from Coruscant. He says that he was a navigator on a space freighter. Dan Dan says his name and that he is from the colonies and that he was a librarian. Kyrish says that he is from Kothlis and a former soldier. After an awkward silence, Han says that they should go over the plan. They look at the hologram and come up with the plan. It's agreed that they will land the Falcon on the ports. Sal will break into the storage unit and take the spice. Han would have to run reconnaissance. Chewie would wait aboard the Falcon. Dan Dan would pose as a buyer along with Karish. When Dan Dan hears his name, he laughs. The others look at him with confused facial expressions. Dan Dan says that he loves the plan. Karish says that this will be a daring plan and that they are risking their lives. Sal says that there's no risk to their lives because he has done this a million times before. He says that the only risk is because of the Falcon, and that is something Han doesn't like to hear. Han says that Sal is lucky that Han is in a good mood. Sal says that he is ready whenever Han is. Han says that he will remember that. They drop out of hyperspace and land on Obadiah. They land the Falcon on the docks. Have an establishing shot of the world and be sure to show the obsidian cliffs. Show the high fortress of the Pike Syndicate as something majestic compared to all the other places there. Show Han and the others leaving the Falcon and Chewie remaining in the ship. Han finds a strategic spot and hides out there. Sal finds a way into the storage unit with Han guiding him. Dan Dan and Karish go into the fortress and are welcomed by the guards after Karish tells them that he wants to buy spice. They go into the building. Karish is shown to be a very good negotiator when speaking to the Pike Syndicate representatives. They ask him why he went all the way to their HQ if they have many branches across the Outer Rim territories. Kyrus says that he wanted to also see if they had any job openings. Dan Dan says that they do business like that by buying and then offering their services when they are able to get the spice to wherever they keep it. The Pikes ask if they belong to any family, and Dan Dan says that they're out looking for one to belong to. While those negotiations are going on, Han spots a familiar figure and goes to check on it. He looks around first and eventually comes across none other than Kira. I think I should leave it here for today, folks. The video is over half an hour long already and it came late. For that, I apologize. I really wanted it to come out on Star Wars Day, especially since this year it was a Sunday, the day that I usually upload videos. Sorry again, everyone. I'm already working on part 2, don't worry. It'll come out on time, I promise. Please stay tuned and let me know what you think of the story so far. Where do you think it's going? Do you have any questions on the logic going into making this story? Leave them in the comment section. Oh, and please do check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and the rest of our channel here. It isn't the first time we had to break a video into 2 parts due to length. Happy Star Wars Month, everyone! May the Force be with you.